At various times, sawflies can be a challenging pest in both agriculture and/or horticulture, especially depending on what types of crops or plants that we grow. But in many of these cases, there may also be different opportunities for various predators to also assert balance on the landscape and help to control the sawfly populations. So here, I want to specifically highlight the Solomon seal sawfly. And why am I talking about Solomon seal? Solomon seal is a plant that can be native to North America, and it also may have some promise as being a perennial food crop in market gardens and agriculture in general, especially in regards to its shoots, which some people harvest early in the season, as this plant is a distant relative to asparagus. Also, it is a perennial crop. So we can use it as a perennial greens crop that can be used to help produce nutritious food without disturbing the soil quite so much each year. The Solomon seal sawfly, quite an alliteration by the way, or Phymatocera aderema would be the Latin name. This is an insect that is indigenous to various parts of Europe. It was introduced to North America, and so some basic identification is the larva is a whitish gray in color typically, and the adults are completely black, right? They've got wings on them, but no other colors, completely black. In contrast to the turnip sawfly, which was a black and gold or black and orange coloration as an adult. And of course, if you want to see any other pictures for identification purposes of this insect, check out the description below. I have a link to a website that provides some really good close-up shots of what these insects can look like. This is an important insect to know about because this insect, especially when it's in its larval stage, can be a serious pest to Solomon seal, right? It can completely devegetate or defoliate plants within a pretty short amount of time, and they do seem to be a specialist for Solomon seal. They don't really seem to go after any other plants. Solomon seal seems to be the only plant that they really go after. And I've known Solomon seal to be native to North America. So how could a pest that's native to Europe only consume a plant that's native to North America? And so the answer to this is that what we're working with here are actually two species of Solomon seal, right? The one species, Polygonatum biflorum, is native to North America, but there is another species called Polygonatum odoratum, which is native to Europe. And so this sawfly was originally a specialist for Polygonatum odoratum, which was right back in Europe. And then since Polygonatum odoratum is closely related to P. biflorum, it was a pretty easy transfer over for this pest from odoratum to biflorum, right? Because the two plants are so similar. Now, one interesting thing to watch and kind of observe might be P. odoratum has evolved this relationship with the Solomon seal sawfly over a long period of time, right? So maybe it has adapted to be able to tolerate heavy amounts of browse, right? Because this plant can jump back the next year and be okay, can rebound. But does the same thing happen for Polygonatum biflorum? Or is this plant going to be more easily weakened by that pest damage and have a harder time rebounding or coming back from that in future years? Right, so that might be one thing to watch on and to kind of be aware of. And then there's also this common trait among sawflies that they may be able to bioaccumulate and store certain types of toxins in their hemolymph, right? And these toxins they get from consuming plants that have these toxins, right? Like in the turnip sawfly, we talked about these glucosinolates, which are a plant secondary metabolite that can have beneficial effects actually on humans, but they can be toxic to a lot of other organisms, right? And so it's one mechanism that can help to protect the plant from various insect pests, maybe even some microbial pests in certain instances as well. And so the Solomon seal sawfly may be able to do this as well. Of course, the Solomon seal plant, especially as it gets older and matures, later on in the season, it can develop and accumulate toxins in basically just about every part of the plant. And these sawflies will consume that plant, bioaccumulate that toxin, probably store it in their hemolymph, and then this is another sawfly larva that can bleed easily, right, to repel different predators that may go after it. Now, exactly what this toxin is that the Solomon seal sawfly takes in, I don't necessarily know. It could be some type of saponin that the plant produces. That can probably be like a primary toxin of the Solomon seal plant in this case, so it wouldn't surprise me if that would be like a main component in that, but I don't know for sure. And this toxic nature of some of the plants in this family is not uncommon, as Solomon seal does it. Also asparagus, as the plant matures and gets older, it becomes more toxic and produces toxic berries as well. So when we look at different predators of this sawfly, it's not really necessarily known, right? We know predators of sawflies in general across different types of sawflies, and that's kind of what I'm going off here. But specifically for the Solomon seal sawfly, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of available information on this, right? Thus the importance of like citizen science, of observation. If you have Solomon seal plants and you have the Solomon seal sawfly, it might be good to get out there and just observe and see what types of insects or animals might go after this pest. Especially because we have the sawfly, the turnip sawfly, which bioaccumulated glucosinolates, which can repel different kinds of insectivores, right? Or parasitoids, or whatever the case may be. Now, here we have potentially a saponin, right? Which is a totally different chemical class. So would that repel different or similar types of insects? So for instance, if frogs were repelled by the glucosinolates in the turnip sawfly, would frogs be repelled by the potential saponins that would be in the Solomon seal sawfly? Or would it not affect them? And now I'm just using that as a general example. That's kind of something we want to apply to all these, right? So we have some ideas of predators, potential predators, that we might want to keep an eye out for, especially to see if they go after this type of sawfly, like the spine soldier bug, which is native to North America. So that would be especially one to watch on the American continent. And then we also have different types of predatory ground beetles. Would they find the Solomon seal sawfly attractive? And then different types of amphibians like frogs or toads, and different species of birds as well. So definitely, if we are considering Solomon seal as a potential crop, or like a market crop or a garden crop, especially for food production purposes, this is one pest that we definitely want to consider, right? Because this can be an issue that can get out of hand really fast during the course of a season, and we want to be prepared for it as possible, right? We want to have diversity on the landscape, a robust and functioning ecology, and if we do start seeing these sawfly larvae on the landscape, and then we can be a little bit more prepared for them should they become a problem. So thank you so much for checking out this video on the Solomon seal sawfly. It's probably a pest or an insect that we don't commonly talk about, right? We might not be very familiar with it, but that's kind of the purpose of this video, right? Is to bring a little bit more awareness to this insect so that we can know that it's out there, it exists, and some different things that we can look out for and see how it interacts with the landscape, what types of predators it may have, if it might be a problem in our area, right? So knowledge is power. And on that note, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Take care.